Smell us now, lady.
Welcome to MeatEater Trivia.
MeatEater Podcast.
Welcome to MeatEater Radio Live. It's 11 a.m. Mountain Time. That's noon o'clock for our friends in Quincy, Illinois on Thursday, May 8th. And we're live from MeatEater HQ in Bozeman. I'm your host, Spencer Neuharth, joined today by Ryan Callaghan and Randall Williams. On today's show, we'll interview Duncan Murdock about the Dinosaur highway that was just discovered in England, followed by a turkey report from the MeatEater crew. Then we've got 1 Minute Fishing with Seth Morris. After that, we'll do show and tell. And finally, we'll interview Alex Fogg about constructing the world's largest artificial reef. Now, in case you don't think this is a live show, we just got breaking news that there's a new pope that's been elected. What's your insight on this, Randall? White smoke from the
I just know
Sistine
white
Chapel.
smoke. That's all. I watched Steve watch Conclave on a plane last week, so
Okay.
that's
You're
about
pretty
all I have
informed.
to offer.
Yeah. All right. But we're going to settle an internet debate that's taken the internet by storm here recently. Every now and then, some stupid thing on the internet achieves exit velocity and makes it out into the real world. Like, is a hot dog a sandwich or the hawk to a girl? It happened again this week, and that was, can 100 humans beat a gorilla, a singular gorilla, in a fight to the death?
Yes.
I have strong feelings about this. Randall, what do you think? Randall has come today with a notepad that I believe contains notes on this subject.
I do. I don't think it's a very interesting question. I think the numbers, the sheer numbers,
Yep.
and the fatigue factor. But I'd like to just use this moment to bolster that opinion with my qualifications as an
perfect.
all-around great ape enthusiast. Phil, will you pull up Exhibit 1, please? Whenever I'm at a zoo, I like to go visit the great apes. On the left is Gorilla World at Cincinnati Zoo. On the right, I don't even know which zoo I was at there. That was 2022.
Wow.
And I didn't go back to check my travel calendar. But as you can see there, it says test your gorilla IQ, and I did rather well that day.
How do we know?
You'll just have to trust me.
Okay. Been to so many zoos and checked out so many apes that he doesn't even know what zoo he was at.
Yes. Phil, if you'll pull up the next slide, please. This is a bizarre image, one of my favorite sort of freak discoveries in the course of my dissertation research. This is an ad for the Ruger 44 Magnum carbine.
Wow.
It's like the 44 Magnum version of a 1022. And they thought the best way to demonstrate the utility of this is with an image of a man and a gorilla that he's
That's
killed
amazing.
in somewhere in Central Africa. I just took a picture of it with my phone, and I've never had a chance to display it to the world. So here it is. Just
Okay.
we used to live in a very weird place. Phil, Exhibit 3 here. Oh, so this is a sequence of photos taken at the Cincinnati Zoo. That's not my child, but
Just a random child.
a good friend's child.
Oh.
We're taking a photo with this friend here. And suddenly, if only we'd been filming video, because suddenly he charged us and he slapped the glass in what might be the most frightening sudden surprise of my life. It sounded like someone just shot a gun next to my head.
Okay. We're learning Randall is indeed a subject matter expert.
Yes, I've also read Gorillas in the Mist. And then to prep for this segment, I didn't have time to watch the movie Congo.
Oh.
So I downloaded it on Kindle and I read 67% of it.
Okay.
I shared some of my thoughts with Phil, but it is one of our culture's greatest meditations on the gorilla's capacity for violence. So I didn't really get anything out of that, and then I brought this T-shirt.
Okay.
This is from the San Diego.
This is all part of answering the question on if 100 humans could beat a gorilla in a fight.
Yeah, and I just think a gorilla, it's 5.5 feet tall, 400 pounds. It's got a powerful sagittal crest that allows its jaw muscles to exert sort of unbelievable pressure on any sort of thing that finds its way into its mouth. But yeah, I don't think he can do it. I think he'd just get tired.
I fully agree. I don't think it's even it wouldn't even be close to a fair fight. 100 is such a big number.
Yeah. it just
100 humans?
It's not fun.
I think the debate should be what's the number where it actually gets competitive. My guess is like 10 to 15. Do you think a dozen humans?
No.
You
I
think
think
a gorilla would
yeah.
win?
I was
against
gonna
us?
think so.
I was gonna say 20.
Figure
That
the
was fine.
reach. A gorilla's got a wingspan of about 8 feet. I mean, you look at chimps.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, chimps just tear people apart.
Yes. I think what would be on our side is I can't imagine they have great stamina. Also, but my problem with it would be I can't identify a weak point on a gorilla.
No.
Where do you go? You just got to punch them in the head over and over.
And they have
suppose.
extremely thick skulls.
Yeah.
Their brain case is not nearly as large as ours, so there's a lot more bone around it. And they don't have, in a fight, you're always talking about reach. Gorillas got us, and they don't have chins. So they can't have a boxer
Hard to
with
find the button.
Yeah, exactly.
Do they have exposed testicles? Like that's probably not a weak point either for them. If you were really trying to
think,
try to
picture the
asking
lower
our-
half.
Oh, they're
of a gorilla.
exposed. They're just tiny.
Sorry,
Okay.
I just didn't think it was that interesting with questions, so I just wrote down a bunch of gorilla stuff about my history. Oh, I also forgot to mention when I was, I would have been 9 years old, my parents adopted a zoo baby, like adopting a star.
sure.
It was an eastern lowland gorilla, female. I don't
Adopted
remember
it
the
for
name.
you,
At the Cincinnati Zoo, yeah.
right? Or was it for them?
For me.
Okay.
It was a birthday or Christmas gift. That's how much I loved gorillas. I also spent a good deal of my younger years walking around on my knuckles. And I can still do
Okay.
it today pretty effectivly.
Cal, any
Emptied the
thoughts?
clip.
Any thoughts on 100 humans versus a gorilla in a fight to the death?
Yeah, I thought the movie Congo was great. Probably underrated by cinephiles.
Phil, do you agree?
Amy, all that stuff. is
Congo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But by the time I saw a lot of those movies, they had already seemed kind of like outdated to me and not in a great way. But yeah, they're entertaining for sure.
Okay.
The biggest shock to me from revisiting the book is that it's set in 1979. So it's just, you read it as a period piece, and then you remember that he wrote it in 1980, and you think, God, it's actually very cutting edge. So
I think where anybody doing battle with a gorilla would really fall short is there's not a lot of like trained fighting sports where you're counting on somebody biting you. Right? I mean, that's a big part of the
we
gorilla
haven't developed
equipment.
that as a
Sure.
discipline.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, as this debate got heated up online, there was a tweet that went viral by someone. Phil is going to pull it up here. They built out their roster of 100 people of who they would want to fight the gorilla. Here's some folks that were on that list. This tweet got 16 million views. 50 Cent in his prime. Turtle Man. I love Turtle Man. The Undertaker, the wrestler, of course. Nikola Jokic's brothers. Jason Momoa. A random high school defensive coordinator / history teacher. And at number 11 in this tweet was Steve Rinella. Steve Rinella made the roster.
One ahead of Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I don't think he has the frame for it.
No.
Would you guys want Steve on your team?
This is just an
Human teams?
ode to Steve. It's not. We're not basing it on fighting ability.
Only if Steve was charged with wearing it down in some sort of
Okay.
chase through hilly country.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Like if there was a debate at the beginning that Steve could engage the gorilla on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Possibly using the communication device and hand signals from the movie Congo.
It's not in the book. In the book,
Yeah.
they're just doing old-fashioned American Sign Language. It adds a
ASL.
element of
Stands
authenticity to it.
test of time.
When I lived back in South Dakota, I played town team baseball, which is like from 18 years old up until whenever you retire. Some guys play into their 40s. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
There was a fan who would come to every game, and if he'd see you around town, he'd maybe throw you a compliment. He'd say, "Oh, Spencer, looking strong today." And I always liked that. That's a very nice compliment to give to another man. I gave that to Steve one day. I said, "Steve, looking strong today," and he didn't care for it. He said, "What do you want to arm wrestle me or what?" Maybe the
Wonder
gorilla,
what Freud would say about that.
if the gorilla can get Steve worked up, maybe Steve would be acceptable on this roster as number 11 in the gorilla fighting cage match. All right, we've determined that 100 humans would easily dominate that gorilla, and we think the number's closer to like 20.
Well, sorry, I know you're heading for a segue here, Spencer. I'm going to throw it off completely. Do you think how many humans would we lose in the process?
Oh, I thought about this today.
A dozen?
No, I think 30.
30? You think
to
he'd rip
40.
through 30?
I think you lose 30% of that roster at game time.
Yeah.
Like they just go, no, not
I think
gonna
the
do
initial 10 minutes, I can't imagine what.
I think it depends if the fighting happens like a Jackie Chan movie where the
bad
warriors
guys
come at
attack
them
and
one
see
at a
one-on-one.
time
Yeah.
and they like wait their turn. Yeah, we'll lose 30 for sure. But we could probably suffocate this thing with like 15 people.
The strength is just, I don't think.
He can't punch 15 people at once.
I think he could. I think he
I think
could.
it just physically tear them apart.
I think he could huck us.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I don't care who you are. Like you get in the cage with the gorilla. There's a large part of that roster that's just going to be like, you know what? Not worth it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not going to happen.
And Google says that their testicles and penis are quite hidden and small as far as primates go, so we can't count on that.
Yeah.
to our
Yeah.
advantage.
Yeah, it's part of one of the issues with their genetic depth. Small wieners.
All right, moving on. Joining us on the line first is Duncan Murdock, a paleontologist from the University of Oxford Museum of Natural History. He's here to talk about the Dinosaur Highway that was just discovered in England. Duncan, welcome to the show.
Hello, morning. How are you?
We're good. First thing, Duncan, tell us how these 200 tracks that came to be known as the Dinosaur Highway were discovered.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a quarry in the center of England near the city of Oxford, where I am, where they're removing limestone to crush it up to use as gravel. And when they were removing that, they were slowly scraping off a layer of clay, and the bucket on the digger felt a series of little bumps. So they thought, oh, that's strange. So they called us in from the museum to have a look at them, and we verified that they were, in fact, dinosaur footprints. And then we mounted an excavation to uncover the whole site. And yeah, we found over 200 individual prints from probably 5 different individual animals.
That's wonderful. Now, describe how big the tracks are and how long this highway is.
So most of them are one kind of dinosaur, and they form these oval shapes that are about 3 feet long by about 2 feet wide, and about 9 inches deep, something like that. But we see literally hundreds of these prints, and they go, the longest trackway is at least 150 meters long. So it's a huge area that's crisscrossed with all these individual tracks.
And how old are the tracks and what kind of dinosaurs made them?
So the surface is from the middle part of the Jurassic period, which is about 166 million years ago. At the time, it would have been a kind of lagoon near the edge of a continent. We see 2 different shape footprints. So most of them, like the one you're seeing on the screen, are quite rare, but most of them are these kind of oval shapes that would have been from a large-bodied, 4-legged, long-necked dinosaur. Think something like a Diplodocus or a Brontosaurus. Yeah, just like that one there on the screen. And then we rarely see with these 3-toed prints. If you've ever seen footprints of a wading bird on a beach, you see these 3-toed prints. We see exactly that, and they were from a very different kind of animal, this 2-legged, carnivorous, meat-eating theropod dinosaur called Megalosaurus.
And does this area in England have a history of dinosaur discovery?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, the first dinosaur ever named, Megalosaurus, the fossils came from a little village called Stonesfield, just a few miles from where we find these footprints. In 1824, it was first named, so just over 200 years ago. So dinosaur science itself actually started here in Oxfordshire, and it was really exciting that 200 years later we're still finding evidence about these animals in the form of their footprints in this quarry.
And how long was the excavation process, and what did that look like?
Okay, so we first discovered these prints a couple of years ago, and we uncovered a small number of them, realized it was a much bigger undertaking. So we put together a team between the University of Oxford and the University of Birmingham. So it was myself, my colleague, Dr. Emma Nichols, and my colleagues, Professor Kirsty Edgar, Professor Richard Butler in Birmingham. And we then put together a team of about 100 people over the course of a week, where we went out every day, Most of the time, we were painstakingly removing a layer of clay that fills and covers these prints to uncover the hard limestone underneath. So carefully removing it with trowels and then sponging out the clay, eventually uncovering the whole site. Then there's a process of documentation where we took literally tens of thousands of photographs to try and capture every single print, as well as flying drones to capture the entire site and image the whole thing before it's then reburied.
Now, you said that this area was a lagoon 166 million years ago. Talk more about what England as a whole looked like at that period and how that's different from today.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So around, let's say 166 million years ago, in the middle of the Jurassic, the continents as we know them today were starting to form. So there used to be this huge continent called Pangaea, where pretty much all the continental land masses were together. Through the early part of the Jurassic, and these continents were breaking apart. So things like the Atlantic Ocean were forming. This created lots of volcanism, lots of volcanoes erupting in the rifting, and it created these shallow inland seaways that were forming as this continent was breaking apart. So England at the time in the middle Jurassic was underneath one of these shallow seaways. So if you imagine something like the Florida Keys today or the Bahamas Bank, where you have these shallow seas with these beautiful clear waters with white sand being deposited, and nearby you have rivers washing material into kind of in mangrove swamps, producing these lagoons behind where you get these sheltered environments. And it's in one of these lagoonal environments that these dinosaurs were walking along what would have been a coastline 166 million years ago.
Okay, so there were multiple dinosaurs who created this dinosaur highway. Do you think those dinosaurs interacted, or was these separated by potentially days or years?
Yeah, so the conditions needed to form these prints are very rare. So you need the mud to be just right. If you have mud that's too wet, then when you pull your foot out, it's just going to fill back in that hole. If the mud's too dry, then even a 10-ton animal like Cetiosaurus can't make a lasting impression. So we think these surfaces were only just right for probably a matter of weeks, maybe months, certainly within one season. So what we do find is lots of most of the prints are from the same kind of dinosaur, but we find lots of different sizes. So there's potential evidence that these animals were moving in herds, showing a kind of herding behavior with different individuals of different ages moving around. Then the theropod prints, these meat-eating megalosaurus, they cross where we see these larger herbivorous animals walking along. So although we don't see any direct interaction between them, it's pretty safe to assume that if you're a big meat-eating dinosaur, you're going to look for big plant-eating dinosaurs to prey upon. So there's a potential that we have interactions between predator and prey, but we can't be sure because all we're seeing are these individual prints. But what we can say is each one of those footprints is a single moment in the life of an extinct animal. So we get this amazing, unique window into that very moment when that animal put that foot in that exact location, and you can go and put your foot in exactly the same place. It's absolutely thrilling to do.
So from that brief window, what sorts of things can paleontologists learn?
So we're able to do things like reconstruct the environment that these animals were living in. So as well as the dinosaur footprints, we find smaller fossils, we find seashells, we find bits of wood. We can also do things like work out how fast these animals might have been moving. So most of them seem to be moving at a kind of average human walking pace. So none of them are going very, very fast. And we can estimate body sizes from the spacing of the prints. So we think the biggest individuals are probably about 16 meters long for the herbivores and about 8 or 9 meters for the carnivores. And we can also observe these interactions between species. So we know that these two different species of dinosaur were in the same place at roughly the same time. So we can start to build a more complex picture of the whole environment that they lived in.
Duncan, this is a active quarry.
That's right.
What's the fate of these tracks?
Yeah, so it's still an active quarry. They're still extracting limestone. It's worth saying that if they hadn't been quarrying this stone, we would have never found the prints. It's absolutely because of this quarrying activity that we're able to do this work. And they don't extract the stone that the prints are in. It's no good. It's too soft a material. So they aren't being damaged or destroyed in any way by the action of the quarry.
Have you ever heard of the MeatEater Land Access Initiative, where we provide access to more outdoor activity on land here in the States primarily? What are the chances that we don't need one of the fancy three-toed ones, but one of the oval tracks getting shipped over here so we can auction it off for public access?
So there's a few problems. One is if you try and actually cut out the prints, they basically fall apart. So you can only really see them in the field. So right now they're not accessible, and they're getting recovered with clay to actually protect them. That's the best thing to do. But we're working very closely with the quarry and Natural England, who are the body that oversee these kinds of things here in the UK, for plans for potential future access. What you can do though is you can virtually visit this site. So we've created a 3D model of the whole area and on every single individual print. We're currently working up publishing that, and we're going to make that publicly available to anyone in the world to download, so you can virtually visit. So hopefully that will satisfy. The other thing you can do is come to Oxford, come to the Museum of Natural History, and we have casts, replicas of the prints on display at the moment. So if any of your listeners are in the UK, please do come to Oxford. You can get up close and personal with a replica of the print.
Cool. Very exciting stuff. Thank you for joining us, Duncan, and congrats on that discovery.
No problem. Thank you very much.
I liked how there was a clear convergence of trails there.
Oh, yeah.
So like the ancient version of a whitetail hunter had just post up right there.
That's right. Yeah, that's you'd call that a pinch point. Right here along this lagoon, we've got the shallow water ends. Obviously, dinosaurs like crossing this spot. That's where I'll wait.
That was sweet.
All right, next up is the turkey report.
Oh, geez.
Is there a sound for this?
I don't have a sound for the turkey.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I heard a sound last week.
Oh well, you know what? I played
report.
this. Here we go.
Everybody's looking for the turkey report.
Randall's is better.
Today we've got updates from Seth Morris, Max Barta, and Tony Peterson. Take it away, Phil.
All right, Seth Morris here, coming at you from Region 1 in Montana with your weekly turkey report. It's been a tough weekend of hunting. The birds are the most henned up that I've seen so far this season. It's even tough to get a bird to break around that 10 to 2 time period, which is usually some good killing hours. But I've been seeing gobblers with hens all day long. They're just not leaving them, and so that's made the hunting real tough. But kind of gotta do what you can to get a bird on the ground.
Sneaky.
I killed this one because I finally was able to call the hens in, and he came in with the hens, but I couldn't get him to break from the hens. So the only way I could do it was getting the hens to come in. And my wife, Kelsey, who's with us too, she killed a bird yesterday morning. So
my goodness,
that's your report. Good luck out there.
Hey guys, Max Barta here. Central Tennessee hunt report. Things are weird right now. It's the first week of May. I feel like the birds have gone past their primetime breeding cycle, and they're kind of on the downslope of things. Birds are gobbling on the roost a couple times, but not much. And then, yeah, I feel like once they hit the ground, and they're just not too keen on coming into hen calls. So, yeah, things are tough, but I feel like if you stick it out and work some ground, you'll find a bird that wants to gobble. You only need one gobble, and like you're in the game. So that's what I did here. This bird came about 10:30, and yeah, it was a great hunt. And yeah, it's been raining the last couple days too, so I don't know if that's got the gobbling all mixed up or anything like that. So, but yeah, beautiful day. Happy camper, happy hunter. Spring's a beautiful thing.
Hey everyone, Tony Peterson here with a little turkey report. I just got back from Kansas, had an amazing hunt down there on public land, killed a bird, and I just spent today, drying out some beards, drying out some tail fans from my daughters. I've killed a few birds. I've killed a few in different states. The hunting has been really good, but it has been kind of a weird year, and I'm starting to see a little transition right now where a lot of these birds are switching to eating a lot of bugs, and the hens are starting to nest. My whole drive home from Kansas all the way back here to Minnesota, there were lone hens all over the place in the afternoon. And when I see that, and I don't know if you can hear this or not, but there's a whole bunch of frogs calling in my backyard pond. This is the time where if you've been dealing with henned up birds, which a lot of us have, should get really callable now. Maybe not right off the roost yet. They might fly down, strut for those hens for a while, but those hens are going to eat some bugs. They're going to scratch for some grain, whatever, eat some fresh greenery. They're going to lay down, and these toms are going to start cruising. And we always think that we're going to hit that, a little bit earlier this far north. Down south's a different story. But right now is the time where if you have the ability to hunt all day and work some setups through and fire up that gobbler sometime in the midday or toward the evening, this is the time when it matters a lot, and it can get really good. So I think they're going to be super callable from here for the next, 10 days or so, probably 2 weeks maybe. So it's a good time to be out there. Good luck.
Wow, 3 big-time turkey killers there in Tony, Max, and Seth. We got a global show today. We got dinosaur tracks from the UK, turkey reports from Middle Tennessee. Got everything.
I was dying to ask our dino guy if he was a feather guy, too. Like, are they just big turkeys?
I was dying to actually ask him if the long-necked dinosaurs he was referring to are sauropods, just to test my knowledge, but I didn't want to sound like an idiot, so...
You boys both had a chance to ask him those questions.
I didn't think it was
You
appropriate.
had so many questions lined up.
The guys from the
Every
University of Oxford. I was shaking in my chair.
What's your favorite dinosaur?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? That would have been a good question.
Do you think they could run fast?
I'm
Do you
sad
think,
I
do you
didn't
think
ask.
100 velociraptors could kill a gorilla?
Yeah, I could use all of Timmy's bad dinosaur jokes from another Michael Crichton joint, Jurassic Park. Do you think he saw us?
I wasn't on last week's episode, but I heard Phil give himself an invite to Randall's turkey hunt. Are you aware of this, Randall?
Yeah, vaguely. I've tried to invite Phil to turkey hunts that other people have invited me on. There isn't really a Randall turkey hunt.
Yeah, that's the thing. I wasn't inviting myself to any sort of pre-planned hunt. I said, I think it'd be fun if Randall wanted to go turkey hunting.
Sure.
Yeah.
That I joined him.
I wanna get out.
I didn't invite myself,
No,
Spencer.
I wanna
That was
get out
some, that
with
was some
Phil.
rude phrasing, and I won't stand for it.
Phil, you should invite yourself.
Okay.
That's what you should.
I just tried to invite myself on the Max's turkey hunting calendar for next week. So
Okay.
if Max fits me in, Phil, clear your calendar.
All right, you'll invite me to Max's turkey
Yes.
hunt, and we just won't tell Max.
No, I'll tell Max, but he's pretty easygoing.
Okay, that'd be wonderful. That sounds like a blast.
I just like the vibe of Max's video. It sort of started out, I wasn't sure where it was going, but these turkey guys love the reveal where they can just twist their body
yeah,
or
it was getting a little corny.
alter the angle of the camera.
Super tough. Not a lot of guys could do it.
Brent did the same thing last
I wouldn't
week.
even go outside, but this guy made a mistake.
See, a guy of Max's size can pull that off with the turkey, but not like a bull moose. I'd like to just see how large of an animal I can hide with my torso in a video.
No, yeah, Phil did not invite himself, but that's me telling Phil he should invite himself.
Okay,
That's
noted.
your way into a turkey hunt,
Great.
Phil. All right, we're halfway through the show. Let's get a break for some listener feedback. What do you got?
Some good stuff.
Sure, let's start out with the big one. Jody says, "Can Cal expand on the late night amendment to sell public lands in the House budget package?"
And in parentheses, it says in under 2 minutes, I think.
Okay, yeah. Okay, very, very quickly. Reconciliation is super scary because there is a process, a public process that allows for the sale of small parcels of public land to address all the needs that these people are saying they're trying to address, such as public housing, infrastructure restraints on rural communities, etc. In reconciliation, they're trying to push this through under the normal process. Sorry to back up 1 second. Under the normal process, which would be like FLTFA and FLTMA, lots of acronyms in the government game, we can deal with giving up some parcels of public land because that cash then goes towards the purchase of lands of greater value for the American people. So it's kind of built on a win-win system. The municipality that's constrained gets a little more space for water projects or housing in this case, and we, the American people, get a quote-unquote better chunk of ground. It's a square, fair deal. This reconciliation BS, if I'm being frank, is not going to ding our national debt at all. There's absolutely no guidelines that say this is how it's going to address the sale of land, the staking of our federally managed public lands with a big for sale sign. There's no guidelines that say this is how it's going to alleviate housing or provide any value for the American people.
Add some context, Cal.
And that sale will go into the Treasury. The dollars from that sale will go into the Treasury. There's no public process. Go ahead, Spencer.
Explain what happened last night at midnight as to why this is being brought up.
Basically, there's a very short timeline to get this budget through. Memorial Day weekend is like the goal, the stated goal from the outset. So folks are starting to scramble. And when you're scrambling, there's opportunities to slide in things. Say, oh, yeah, we'll totally give you what you want, but here's this thing that you got to sign off on. And so at 11:30 last night, Arizona and Utah slid in this provision for the sale of public lands. Right now, there's no context as to how many acres that is, but we're hearing numbers as high as 650,000 acres, which is something that you can't do under the FLTMA process. And we don't know how these lands have been selected, what they're trying to address. All we know is this is a major opportunity for folks that want to get this done. And by and large, the vast majority of the American public do not agree with this. So this is a very small group of interests being prioritized over we, the American people, and nobody should stand for this. You need to get on the horns with your senators and representatives in the House. And I've been doing this all morning and all last night. It's not that hard, but you need to send your emails, your phone calls, and talk to staffers and say, hey, I do not like where this is headed.
And for more on this, we've got coverage on the MeatEater.com. We just published an article. Republicans vote to sell public land in midnight amendment. You'll get a fuller story there.
And it's like we're selling things that can make us money. And when you're trying to dig yourself out of debt, that's not what you do.
Phil, what else you got?
McKenna says, let's go Oklahoma City. What do you think about that, Spencer?
It was just an ass-whooping of epic proportions last night.
Yeah, that Mitchell follows up with, what do the Nuggets need to do to make the fix from last night? Rough loss.
I'll be real quick. Michael Porter Jr. is not good enough. He's way too hurt. Jamal Murray has not been a second fiddle lately. He's good enough to be a third fiddle. He has not been good enough to be a second fiddle. And we have too shallow of a bench. So a lot of issues that can't be fixed.
What sport is this?
Basketball.
You need some
Nikola Jokic to go God mode. That's
and
our
big
only
Westbrook
hope.
energy.
That's right. Russell Westbrook has been phenomenal. Good on Russ.
Fun to see Russ.
Anything else,
well.
Phil?
From Dan Pooper, real name. A question for the lads. Do you guys have a vintage piece of gear you prefer or think is superior to modern or current options?
It's DB Pooper.
Oh, that's good.
That is good.
When I was at the Blazers game, I don't remember the guy's initials. One of the rotation guys for the Blazers, his initials were DB, and when he'd score, they'd go DB Hooper, and they had like a sketch, of DB Cooper, but it was the player's face in there. I thought it was very clever.
Oh yeah, because he landed not too far from.
Sorry,
Portland.
back to Mr. Pooper here.
Cal, any vintage piece of gear that you really, really like?
Knives, hatchets, axes, all of those things can be multiple lifetime pieces of gear. I think everybody's got something that they're attached to in that lineup. Also, cannot beat a good pair of wool pants for outdoor activities.
Yeah, knife is a good one. Dutch oven, too.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Cast iron.
Mm-hmm. Got an old Dutch oven that I really love, and that's the Dutch oven I'll own for the rest of my life, I think. Randall, anything to add?
I think the closest thing I have to a vintage piece of gear that easily comes to mind is just an old-ass Grumman canoe.
Oh.
Just a timeless piece.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Craigslist score, yeah, it will serve you well.
Phil, let's do one more, and then we're going to move on.
Sure, because we got Cal in the room. Not that you two are,
What the hell is that supposed to mean?
Flying Taco Moose says they're making Gruyere stuffed bread today. Any suggestions for what dish to pair it with?
I'd only Cal can
Guessing
answer.
wild game we're talking here.
Whoa, man.
Stinky.
Oh. Yeah, that's
Stinky cheese. Any sort of a pairing you'd.
Yeah, medium. I mean, just medium rare, cut against the grain meat. That sounds delicious. Maybe a little fresh onion on there. Like that too.
There you go.
Make it
Flying
extra
Taco Moose.
stanky.
All right. Our next segment is 1 minute fishing.
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Go ahead. Make my cast.
1 minute fishing is where we go live to someone who's fishing and they have 1 minute to catch a fish. And if they're successful, we'll make a $500 donation to a conservation group. This week, our angler is Seth Morris, who's at the MeatEater HQ pond, and he's fishing for a donation to Walleyes Unlimited.
Good to see you, Seth.
Hey, guys. How we doing?
We're doing
Great.
good, Seth. Give us a little scouting report on the MeatEater pond today.
All right, so I came out earlier. I made a couple casts. I had one swipe at it, which was ideal because I didn't actually want to catch one. And that told me all I need to know. So there's some water flowing into this pond. It seems like they're stacked up over there in the current.
I don't know. What's the water clarity like today?
It's pretty good. I'd say 3 feet, 4 feet.
Okay.
I will say, though, we just talked to a youngster that was fishing in the same spot when we came out here, and he said he had not caught anything.
Oh, no.
But
Did
he look
you
like
give him
he
the
was
old
doing-
brush off where you were like, oh, yeah, there's nothing in there. Beat it.
I just
Maybe
said,
he thought you were a chump.
when you get a few more years of experience under your belt like I have, maybe you'll catch something.
What are we using today, Seth? I see you got the spinning rod in your hands.
Oh, yeah. Spinning rod, as always. Number 4, Panther Martin. My go-to for trout.
Okay.
Every child needs one of those.
That's right.
Yeah.
We have not had a successful angler on the MeatEater pond yet, and this is our first 1 minute fishing of the year since the ice has melted. So maybe this is our chance, Seth.
Yeah, I would say this is the best time to fish this pond the whole year.
Oh,
from my experience.
all right.
So we'll see. I could be jinxing
Little
myself.
hot tip off.
How's the garbage situation down there? Good flow?
Well, I noticed over here's a pile of plastic bottles.
Yep,
Water
yep.
Okay.
Which isn't great, but
Yeah.
We're going to do a cleanup on that on Monday as an office.
And we've got, I think we've got as many employees here as there are pieces of trash out there. So maybe leave some garbage while you're out there, Seth. Trip over or dump over the dumpster so we have something to clean up next week.
there is a garbage can that tipped over here, so we're doing
Okay, perfect. Kick that thing into the water for us. All right, Seth, your 1 minute of fishing starts as soon as you make your first cast. Go ahead.
All right, here we go.
Seth has made his first cast right towards the current that he thinks the fish are hanging in.
God, new music, Phil?
Oh, no, it just starts off really silent and then gets way too loud.
Beautiful day here in Bozeman. We've got green grass, no wind at all.
Classy water.
Uh-huh. All right, Seth is on to cast number 2. He's got 20 seconds into his 1 minute.
Somehow he managed to avoid casting it into that tree where I casted.
Seth, 30 seconds to go.
Come on, Seth.
He's making his third cast. He might be able to get one more cast in here.
Do it for the memory of Chester.
R.I.P.
Chester's still very much alive. Just a few states away. Basically dead. All right, you have 10 seconds to go, Seth. Oh, he's taking a few steps with that cast.
Yeah, that's a tournament angler cast right there.
Oh, your time is up, Seth Morris.
Still can't do it. Still
Tell us what happened there, Seth.
Well, the casts were in the right spot. The technique was there. I don't think the fish were there.
The fish were wrong. Yeah.
Fish is
classic.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
We might need to rethink our
this
level spot, Spencer.
Or we need to stock that pond. Maybe that's what we got to do.
This segment continues to just produce.
I think next time we need to go with a bobber and a nightcrawler.
Yeah.
Or do one of each. Have a bobber and a nightcrawler out there, and throw your Panther Martin.
Well, I don't know if he's in a 2-rod zone. You can check the regs there
to see. We'll see what the regs say about the MeatEater HQ pond. All right, Seth. Thanks for joining us. Good luck with your day of fishing out there at the pond.
See you in a little bit, Seth.
We'll see ya.
All right, our next segment is Show and Tell.
Oh, no.
Spencer brought a rock. What else did you expect?
Is that Steve Winwood?
It is indeed.
Steve Winwood. I love the song Back in the High Life Again. If I owned a yacht, I'd play Yacht Rock all day. Steve Winwood.
I play Yacht Rock all day in my Hyundai Santa Fe, Spencer.
Do you have Sirius XM?
No, I just use Spotify playlist.
Yeah, I loved when I did have Sirius though. Yacht Rock was one of my 5 presets on there. Loved Yacht Rock. And Steve Winwood, he would have some prime real estate in that Yacht Rock playlist for certain. All right, Randall, let's start with you. What did you bring to show the classroom today?
I brought one item from home, and then when I got to the office today, I thought I'd add another item to that. And I figured that Cal didn't bring something, so I thought I'll just do 2.
Well,
wow, presumptuous,
let's see what you brought, and then we'll find out if Cal did bring anything.
The first thing I brought is a rare limited edition. We've been hearing from the fans that they needed a book version of the Audio Mountain Man. This is, in fact, not a licensed version. This is just some bootleg thing that a guy produced with ChatGPT and a print as you buy system. So I saw this on Amazon, and before the lawyers could take it down, I ordered a copy for $11.
Oh wait, this guy didn't do this as like a favor to us. He was trying.
No, legit. This just showed up. This showed up on our audiobook thing.
Whoa.
Yeah, and so it doesn't have a back cover, and it's very strange. There's
so it's a create your own back cover.
Yeah, and clearly they fed. So the one troubling thing, and maybe this is my big takeaway, is you hear how artificial intelligence is getting so good, and it's just all it can do is look at text and predict what text there should be.
Sure.
And I read this and it's horrible.
Oh.
And so
they're not your words that are horrible.
Right. They fed our audio into ChatGPT and then had it make something that sounded like that. And so this is so bad, it's making me sort of rethink my own abilities as a writer.
Sorry to interrupt. I just got word from Corey. Seth caught one on the next cast.
Oh, hell.
Oh, we need to make it 90-second fishing.
So, guys, if you see any print versions of our audiobooks, they are, in fact, illegal pirated versions. And don't buy them unless you just want a funny keepsake, which I did. So
you should have got, what was that guy charging for that?
$12.
Okay.
Yeah. The next thing I brought is the oldest and most celebrated freeze-dried meal in my pantry. This is a Cincinnati-style chili backpacker's pantry that I purchased at the Bozeman REI, I believe in 2016.
Oh, when did it expire?
The expiration date was in May of last year.
Oh,
and
still good.
You can see some of the labels are peeling off of it, and I've always saved this for a real special occasion.
Okay.
And
You're going to eat it right now.
The time is never right. So it always goes into my backpack when I'm going out on a hunt where I think I'm going to, have a memorable moment that I want to celebrate with a fake version of Cincinnati-style chili.
What would it take, you think, for you to open that up?
Big old bowl, but then I get into a rush. I get an animal down, I start cutting it up, and then I start thinking about how I can get it out of there. So it's really like I'd have to be trapped on the mountain with the an animal of a lifetime for me to actually tear the seal on this, because I don't think they make it anymore.
How does the seal feel on that thing? It's 8 years old.
Oh, that's a good question.
Pretty good?
It doesn't like balloon out when I don't think it's airtight.
Okay.
I hadn't really thought about it. I've rolled it up and put it in my backpack a lot over the past 10 years.
It's gone with you on a lot of trips.
Yeah, it's kind of like an old friend now.
Was it saved for a special occasion the day you bought it, or did that recently change where it's like, okay, now?
I was thrilled when I found it, and I should have bought a lot of them. I didn't buy it with the intention of saving it, but it just never felt right to break into it. And then over time, it was like, I've got to pick the right occasion. So probably 3 years after this went in and out of my backpack, I decided it's a real thing to actually eat it someday. And to be honest, I don't know that I ever will. Wow. I think my best days are behind me. And I also lack the courage of conviction required to do something like, take in a moment and celebrate my accomplishments. So
I hope it happens this fall.
Yep.
Does that mean you killed something big?
I'll tuck this under my armpit when I'm heading 6 feet under.
Okay, that's good. Cal, what'd you bring today for show and tell? Prove Randall wrong. Oh, he's taking his shoe off. All right, what do you got here?
Just incredibly on brand.
Do we have a QVC style?
Just imagine we're playing the music from the countdown. Just some some soft.
Exactly. So lots of folks are into Crocs. I discovered these Birkenstocks versions of a Croc. You can call them a Birken Croc. Lighter weight.
I'll be the judge of that. Oh, yeah, jumps out of your hand.
Wow. It does. Lighter weight, obviously way classier. Great camp shoe, backpacking shoe. And, it's roto-molded. Doesn't stink.
Wow.
Super comfy, good arch support for us older guys.
Smell it, Randall. See if it smells or not.
No, you got to smell the inside.
Yeah. What do you...
Yeah, it's good.
Let Randall be the judge.
I'm not
Randall's
saying it's great.
Smelling.
No, it smells like feed. It literally just smells like a shoe.
But highly recommend. They were $30.
Cal's show and tell item with the shoes on his feet.
Yeah.
That's good.
Grant asks, is it breathable?
No.
Well, okay.
Can't have it all.
It's not much of a QVC segment.
All right, my show and tell item.
Well, we'll get better, Phil.
And listeners, if you're out there,
but wait, there's more.
Chime in with your thoughts on whether or not Cal intended to use his shoe for show and tell today.
Why don't you show us that hoodie you're wearing? Maybe the Yeti mug you're drinking out of next time.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
I was going to do this, talk about this program that Pheasants Forever, Quail Forever puts together.
Well, you got to save something for more show and tells down the road.
Yeah.
Hopefully the next show and tell is in the winter time again when he has as many layers as he needs to come up with a good item.
Hey, I'm providing value to our audience. Okay,
all right.
They like it.
My show and tell item. I'm friends with a fossil dealer in Utah.
Ooh,
and I was visiting
you
his
bought
shop.
a rock. Great.
I was visiting his shop, and I had $200 cash in my pickup. And I said, Seth, what's the coolest thing I could get for $200? And he pointed to what I have here. This is one. I only have like 3 rocks that I've ever bought. The rest that I've found. And this, in honor of today's show, is a dinosaur track that he sold me. Far, far, far undervalued. This is worth way more than $200. And I protested for a second. I says, Seth, you can't give me that thing for $200. And he said, sure I can. And so I didn't argue anymore. I just took that dang track. This is 200 million years old. It's from a Dilophosaurus. Dilophosaurus. It's found in Connecticut from the Portland Formation. This dinosaur was made famous in Jurassic Park, but they depicted them way, way wrong.
A lot of creative liberties.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in Jurassic Park, they had them as like a smaller dinosaur that had frills. When it would get angry, it would pop these frills up on the...
spit an acidic venom at Dennis Nedry when he wrecked his Jeep. trying to make his way to the last ferry.
He had it coming
to Costa Rica.
He needed that. It did spit venom in the movie. These dinosaurs, they do not believe spit venom. They don't think there was any dinosaurs that even possessed venom. So those were a lot of creative liberties. The reality is,
well, actually, it wouldn't be venom though, right? It's just like an acidic phlegm, which would be something that some reptiles these days have, right? Sure. It's just an acid to digest food.
But paleontologists don't. They have no evidence that any of these dinosaurs had any kind of venom or any sort of biological function.
Crichton was just going wild with that.
But that's the fun part. Is we don't have that much evidence as to what exactly we're dealing with.
What they do think they know about these dinosaurs. This is one of the first large meat-eating dinosaurs that existed. They stood about 6 feet tall, 20 feet long, weighed 900 pounds. And at the time, this was the largest land mammal in North America that made this here track. This is one of my favorite rocks.
Put your hand next to that thing.
Yeah,
cute
that's
little tiny. Yeah,
that's what's funny about Jurassic Park is that he makes the Dilophosaurus a small, sort of cute dinosaur. And then the Velociraptor they make much larger.
Way larger.
Than it was. So, do your research, kids.
That's right. This is one of my favorite rocks I have, one of the few rocks that I've purchased. I asked Seth, I said, Seth, have you ever sold stuff to anyone really famous, like A-list celebrity or big politicians? And he says, yep.
Karl Malone.
And then I go, okay, who are they?
Was that Leo?
He says, I can't tell you. Oh. And then I'm like, well, I begged him. I said, will you give me a hint? Can I make some guesses? He goes, nope. So if you're looking to if you're a famous person.
What's the deal? I mean, just between the movie prop that we can't say what it's from. Yeah. Why are all these people so secretive about this? Just tell us.
Yeah.
We're in showbiz. We can take it.
Yeah.
Right. But if you're looking, if you were like a star on Parks and Rec and you consume MeatEater content, you're looking for a fossil for your own home. Seth Sorensen from the Fossil Shack, he'd hook you up.
So is that some inside knowledge? Is that from Spencer's Hollywood Reporter beat?
What's that?
Is somebody from Parks and Rec in
No, I think there's a few characters from that show. I don't know that they're interested in fossils.
Oh, you're just profiling them.
They've consumed MeatEater content in the past. So maybe they're listening right now. Maybe they're a male cast member from Parks and Rec. Maybe two of them.
Roughly in the age of.
Right,
Aubrey Plaza never misses a show.
Yeah, and maybe they're interested in having some fossils for their home. The Fossil Shack, he'll keep your secret. He won't tell me or anyone else that you sold him some big, beautiful fossils.
Get after it, Rob Lowe.
All right, moving on. Joining us on the line last is Alex Fogg, the Okaloosa County Natural Resources Chief in Florida. He's here to talk about turning a retired ocean liner into the world's largest artificial reef. Alex, welcome to the show.
Hey, man. How's it going?
We're doing good. First thing, tell us about the SS United States, which is the ship at the center of this story.
Yeah, man. So it's a big old ship. When I first saw it, I thought I was looking at the Titanic. And it has that old ocean liner look. It was built back in the 1950s. Sailed all across the Atlantic, made the fastest crossing from the United States over to England, and then broke its own record coming back. It's still the record that it holds today. While it still doesn't have that fresh coat of paint on her anymore, you can certainly see how she was quite magnificent back in her heyday.
Yeah, it's funny you compared it to the Titanic because this ship is bigger than the Titanic slightly, and I've seen the images comparing the sizes of the SS United States to the Titanic. Now, how did Okaloosa County acquire the ship?
Yeah, so it's been a heck of a process. We found out about it maybe 3 years ago. I had a contractor that we'd worked with on some other artificial reefs reach out and say, hey, you should look at the SS United States. So I went down the Google rabbit hole, started looking at, what story this had. And there was some conflict between the old owner and the dock that it was at. So there was coming to a point where the vessel was either going to be sold for scrap or it was going to have to go to some other purpose. And really the only economical option was to create an artificial reef with this vessel. We've deployed hundreds of artificial reefs, dozens of wrecks, large vessels, not as big as this one, but large ones in the past. And it seemed like the right option for us to move forward with negotiating with the previous owner. And then we took ownership back in October, which was a big deal. A small county in Florida owning 1,000-foot ocean liner that was in Philadelphia at the time.
Can you tell us what you guys paid, Alex?
Yeah, so we bought the ship for $1 million, which is about the price of scrap. If it were to be scrapped, there's about $1 million worth of steel on board.
Wow. And then
it's a bargain.
Yeah. How do you like the tug service to get that sucker down there? And then I imagine you got to do it quite a few man hours to make sure you're putting something not all that god awful in the water, right?
Yeah, exactly. So this is built in a time when they didn't really have many rules as to what was going into paint, what was being burned for fuel. So there's a lot of that that's still on board, even though a lot of it was gutted when it got brought overseas to Ukraine and Turkey. A lot of the asbestos is gone, but there's still a lot of lead, a lot of PCBs that are in the paint, a lot of fuel oil. All that has to be removed to ensure that we're not hurting the environment that we're hoping to benefit.
Now, I've been surprised to read that it seems like a lot of the decision-making is done at a very local level, in this case, Okaloosa County. When I'd expect there to be involvement from NOAA and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and maybe even like the state of Alabama. Can you talk about the red tape involved with a project like this and how much or how little power Okaloosa County has?
Yeah, fortunately, we planned way ahead. And the way artificial reef construction works is you actually get permits way ahead of time for a certain area to allow you to deploy artificial reefs whenever you want. So we have a permit that's good for 10 years. It was actually initially obtained back in the 90s, and it's still active today, and we can deploy wrecks tomorrow if we want to. So we've already gone through all the consultation with Army Corps of Engineers, Fish and Wildlife, NOAA, all those folks. The people that we, I guess, had the most red tape that we had to cut through just to get out of Philadelphia was the U.S. Coast Guard. So the Coast Guard was very, very nervous about a vessel that hadn't moved in 30 years, looking the way that it did. They were worried about its ability to make the tow from Philadelphia all the way down into the Gulf and eventually into Mobile. So it was a hell of a tow, but after a lot of tests and a lot of surveys by all sorts of different people in Philadelphia, it was determined to be okay. There were some water bottles and some cups and things that were left sitting on tables when we left Philadelphia. It arrived in Mobile with those cups and bottles still sitting in the same place that we left them. So it was a very stable boat, no issues, didn't take on any water. Now's the process of getting her all cleaned up, and we'll have to go through similar hurdles when we tow her from Mobile to south of Destin, Fort Walton Beach to deploy as a reef.
I've seen some online resistance to this project, and there was a recent headline that said campaigners appeal Trump to save the SS United States. Why are some folks against this?
Yeah, so this is one of the last vessels of its time. Essentially a hand-built vessel that carries our nation's name. A lot of people are very passionate about this vessel. What the people that are so negative about this project don't really know, or maybe can't wrap their head around, is how much it would cost.
Is fishing.
What's that?
Is fishing. They don't know fishing.
There's fishing, totally. I mean, there's a ton of money in fishing and diving, and they probably aren't fishermen and divers themselves, but they can't wrap their head around what it would cost to actually restore this. I mean, we're talking $1 billion to get this vessel to a point where it could actually be used again. Not to mention, I don't know where the heck you would put 1,000-foot ship for a long period of time. I mean, it's had in Philadelphia for a long time, and they essentially got thrown out. So there's just way too many logistics. I understand that there's historical value to it, but that's where we're going to try and honor its legacy through a land-based museum. So there's a whole bunch of artifacts that have been collected over the years. We're going to actually remove the funnels, the big stacks on the top, and those will be retained for the museum, and allow folks to come and learn about it even after it's gone to the bottom. And if you aren't a fisherman or a diver, then you can go there.
How deep are we looking to sink this baby?
Yeah, so it's a massive ship. So it's going to be out in 180 feet of water, but the whole top deck's going to be at 55, 60 feet of water. So very
beautiful.
Yeah, very accessible to the beginner diver. But then if those technical folks want to go down to the bottom or go penetrate and check out the engine room, that's all on them.
Oh, that is cool. Have you thought about putting? Oh, I love to dive. Yeah.
Awesome.
Have you thought about putting some mattresses or old couches on the deck to get people's speed jigs and stuff, and then you can go down there and collect them?
I'll tell you, I think the wreck itself is going to be a magnet for all those hooks and line and jigs and everything. It's amazing how smart the fish are and know where to go to get you hung up.
I love it.
So there's about a year of prep work before you can sink this. What all happens in that time period?
So once we got to Mobile in early March. So we've been there about 2 months now. They've been removing 120 tanks worth, so millions of gallons of fuel oil that's still on board. They're removing all the glass, removing all the hazardous paint. All of this has to come off, and for a 1,000-foot ship, that's a lot of material and a lot of manpower, as you implied earlier. So once she gets cleaned up, we'll have EPA and a bunch of other regulatory agencies on board to come take a look and make sure we did what we said we did. and then we'll get that clearance to go deploy it in one of those permitted areas that I mentioned earlier. So it's exciting times on the horizon, but still a ton of work that needs to be done to try and get this thing down in 2025.
Yeah, so the day comes where you're ready to drop this thing to the bottom of the ocean. What is the process actually like of sinking the ship?
Yeah, back in the day, they used to use bombs and explosives to blow holes in the side of it and make it go to the bottom really, really fast. But they determined that that's not good for dolphins, turtles, and the environment. So no dramatic explosions. But there'll be holes cut throughout the ship right above the water line to where when it's go time, you can open up through holes inside the ship to allow water to flood controlled. And then once those holes that are cut on the exterior of the vessel sink below the water line, it'll be gone in 40 minutes. It's a very, very quick process once you get to that point.
What kind of sea life is going to like this new artificial reef?
You name it, everything. So it's such a large vessel being placed in a location where there's really no reef material, natural or artificial, existing at this time. So it's going to be an oasis. You're going to have your reef fish species, your snappers and your groupers. You're also going to have your pelagics. There's going to be, tunas, wahoos, billfish, other things swimming by. It's such a large vessel. It's going to be a magnet for everything, including humans.
Alex, it's been a while since I've been in the ship sinking game. So I'm curious, you guys ended up with a ship. Were there other localities competing with you for it? And then along those same lines, is there like a top 10 list of ships like this sitting around the country that folks in your line of work are eyeballing and waiting for it to go on the market? Or sort of how does that shopping process look like?
Yeah. To start with the first question about other communities. Yeah, there were other communities that were certainly looking at this, but they didn't have, their total project cost is right around $10 million. So they didn't have $10 million to commit to a project like this. We fortunately have leadership and the foresight to be able to obligate those funds and then find partnerships on the back end. So we've been working to find a number of partnerships to alleviate that total cost, including partnering with some neighboring communities that were also looking at getting this vessel. So it's a win-win for everybody. Those partnerships haven't been formalized yet, but I suspect it'll be in the coming month or two. As far as selecting vessels, a lot of it's a case-by-case basis. Sometimes a vessel catches fire and they can't put it back into operation. So they give us a call and see if we'd be interested in taking it as an artificial reef. Sometimes it's an old vessel that has no other opportunities, like the SS United States, there's really no other options. So we worked with them to keep it from going to the scrapyard and turning it into the world's largest artificial reef. There are some large vessels out there that we're certainly keeping our eye on, but it's not something we're actively pursuing until something hits the fan.
Fascinating.
Have you thought about the merch opportunities here? There's so many boat cliches, like T-shirts that say the two best days of boat ownership: the day you buy it and the day you sink it. Stuff like that.
Oh man, no, that's a great point. So there's a lot of examples of where large vessels have been deployed and they are visited by people from around the world. The amount of merchandise that pops up is incredible. In the age of social media and digital media and podcasts like this, it's amazing how many people have learned about this, and I suspect that the returns in the form of merchandise and visitation and all that stuff is going to be significantly more than anything that's ever been done before. So we're really we're really excited to see what pops up from this, but we're not in the business of merchandise. So I think that's probably going to come down to the dive shops and the fishing shops and stuff like that.
How quickly will fish start using this new reef?
Yep, there'll be fish there probably the day after it's been deployed. There'll be a bunch of bait fish. Now, they aren't going to be established. They're not going to be sit there reproducing and eating and all that stuff. They're more just there because there's some new thing that's on the bottom. It'll take a year or two before it's a functioning system, but there will be things to see immediately after it goes to the bottom.
And how do you envision sportsmen using it?
Oh man, the amount of early on when there maybe aren't enough fish there to really sustain a fisherman or make for a good day of fishing, it's going to be heavily dived. But once it's become that established system, there's going to be people fishing it every single day, and then there's going to be people spear fishing on it every single day. So it's going to be hammered by the sports fishermen. But the good news is there's a lot of other fishing sites and diving sites all around this vessel. So if there's a bunch of people there, they can go to one of those other sites and wait their turn.
Well, thank you for joining us, Alex. Congrats on the record-breaking reef, and good luck with the project.
Yep, thank you. You guys have a good one.
Thanks, you too.
Cal's going to be there in a few years.
Oh, I love that. Love it.
Yeah, you look at the map that Okaloosa County has of all the artificial reefs they created. It's like reefs on top of reefs at this point. I think they got it figured out over there.
Yeah, Alabama's kind of an overlooked Gulf state, too, which is cool.
All right, that brings us to the end of this week's show. Phil, let's get some final feedback from the chat.
Brent would just like to set the record straight that he did the turkey reveal thing first, so it's fine when he does it. Spencer, your holy grail for rock hounding.
I would say it's a rock that probably doesn't even exist. I would want a rock that has multiple bits of history. So if I got to pick one rock to find, it would be a meteorite that hit Earth. And then that meteorite was eaten by a dinosaur because dinosaurs had gizzards, just like birds. So people will find or claim to find, it's not always confirmed, a rock that was a dinosaur gizzard stone. And they're very smooth and round.
Gastrolite.
And it's a gastrolith.
Gastrolith is on the ground. Gastrolite is in the bird. Is that right?
Well, I think
lith would be stone.
Yeah, when I hear it referred to as the fossil version, it's a gastrolith.
Okay.
So I'd want a meteorite that hit Earth that was then eaten by a dinosaur and was used as a gizzard stone, become a gastrolith, and then maybe some ancient human picked it up and used it as a pestle with a pestle and mortar. That's my holy grail. I want it's a small ask, something that came from outer space that was in a dinosaur's gizzard that then some ancient human used to crush acorns.
2 weeks ago, I basically stayed at the site of the Jones Diamond. Are you familiar with that one?
No.
It's the largest specific kind of diamond that's blanking on me right now. It was found in West Virginia in a creek. But it's like a giant mystery stone. You would love this.
I would.
Because the formation it comes out of is in Brazil.
Oh.
And so there's a theory
get there?
that it was traded over and over and over and over and over again and eventually got dropped in this creek in West Virginia.
That's perfect.
The largest alluvial diamond
ever
discovered in North America.
That's got all the ingredients of a holy
and it
grail
kind of brings
find.
us full circle because diamonds are, and the search for them, particularly in alluvial floodplains, is a key plot element of the film and book Congo.
Yes, exactly
Wow,
right.
full circle.
They're looking for the
else you
blue
gotta know?
diamonds, though, because they want to use those in some sort of primitive
Laser
microprocessor. In the book, in the movie, it's a laser weapon. But yeah, go on.
When we were talking about the legislation in D.C., Max brought up the fact that Cal and Mark both dropped a podcast today about their recent trip to D.C. Cal, I don't know if you want to just talk briefly about what you did over there and what kind of shows you'll be dropping in the Cal in the Wild feed next week.
Oh boy, Phil and I were just crying over the news cycle moving way too fast for our pace here. We did some lobbying on the Hill in Washington, D.C. We attended the Teddy Roosevelt Conservation Partnership Capital Conservation Awards and basically just rubbed elbows with some newly appointed Trump appointees in different offices like National Resource Conservation Service, and some folks in the Ag Department, and then tried to hit as many Senate and House offices as possible to ask them to join the brand spickety new released Public Lands Caucus, led by Gabe Vasquez out of New Mexico and Ryan Zinke out of Montana. I saw Congressman Mike Simpson was in the lineup with that too, but we need more of that. And that's what we were really encouraging people to do. We also talked about mineral withdrawal in the boundary waters. We talked about active land management and not selling off our public land, especially doing it in a way that avoids all the things that the public has come to trust, which is knowing what we're giving up for what we're getting, quite simply. So,
Phil, what else you got?
Let's see here. Oh yeah, you're playing trivia at the BHA rendezvous, correct, Spencer?
I won't be there, but
you won't be there.
Randall will be. Randall is going to be leading trivia at the BHA rendezvous for the second year in a row.
Saturday night, I believe it starts at 8 p.m.
June
teens, the mid-teens.
Whatever the
of June.
Saturday is.
Yeah, I think it's the 13th.
Tuesday's the 17th, so going backwards, carry the 3.
And while you're there,
so it's the weekend of the 13th. So it's Friday the 13th, Saturday the 14th, and then we're gonna have a big public lands rally on the 15th there in Missoula.
Yeah,
which is also Father's Day.
We'll make up a plan here soon. I think it'd be fun to get some audience participation in that game, but I haven't yet sat down to think through the logistics. But rest assured, Leland, we will be playing trivia, and it will be a wonderful time.
Yeah,
in support of a good organization.
And if you see Randall there, go ask him about the drunkest he's ever been in his life, and he'll have a good story to share with you.
Nope.
No,
won't
he
go
won't.
there.
Okay.
Won't go there.
He won't share that story with you. So ask him anyway.
Jacob's going on a 4-day paddle trip in the Midwest. It's kind of a big area, Jacob, but he's asking for recommendations on scenic rivers with decent fishing.
There's a lot of them.
4-day paddle trip.
But 4 days, if you're
Midwest.
stringing together 4 days, like camping along the way, you're probably limited.
Go to the Boundary Waters.
Yeah, go to the Boundary Waters.
You could paddle for months up there. It's plenty scenic and some of the finest fishing in North America.
Mm-hmm.
Any other recommendations?
It's going to be
Jacob?
totally different when there's an open pit copper sulfide mine.
I've only done
not.
one night 2-day trips on the Little Miami River, and I don't think it's sort of attracting visitation from out of state. So maybe look elsewhere.
Okay, there you go. Randall will tell you where not to go. What else you got, Phil?
Kevin says, Spencer, really great fossil, really happy for you, but what the people really need to know is what shoe you're wearing
Oh,
right
I've
now.
got just some Nike tennis shoes on
Great.
today.
Yeah, Kevin.
Good answer.
I mean, man of the people.
I'll
do my own audience.
There's a couple silly questions, but I feel like I've done a lot of silly questions.
Well, let's get a couple more.
I'll
Let's
do
get a
my
couple
own
more.
audience call out. I saw a question right after we finished our discussion of
Sure.
the gorilla battle. And someone pointed out that they don't believe that many humans would be killed, just very badly injured. And I'd like to go back on my statement about 30 to 40 being killed. That is, unless the gorilla had time to go around and sort of finish off his victims, I think it would just be a lot of maimings. So
Yeah.
whoever that was, point well taken.
He'll put him in a coma.
Yeah.
Make him on bed rest.
Yep.
Anything else, Phil?
Marty says, inquiring minds want to know who's in charge of bumping into the giant foothold trap behind Spencer every week. It's at a.
I'll address
Oh
this
yeah,
one.
I've got a follow up for you.
And it's not, the thing is it's not the person who's actually bumping into the trap who's responsible. It's the person who sits in Spencer's seat. You see, I think in the event of a fire, everybody on this side of the table would be dead because there's not a lot of clearance between the tripods and that host seat. And so if someone is sitting in that seat and not paying attention to those around them, they oftentimes will force those of us with larger bodies to sort of push up against the wall, which wasn't as hazardous until that foothold trap was in place. So it's not the guy bumping the trap, it's the guy he's trying to avoid.
And I will say, for being such a respected hunter and personality in the industry, Stephen Ranella has very little awareness of what's happening around him. So I'll walk.
I didn't want to name names.
He'll be in the chair leaning back, which is fine. That's his right. But then I come up next to him kind of, he's usually on the phone
You
or sending
can
an
pace
email.
there
I'll
for a
kind
little
of
bit.
try to squeeze through, and then I'll finally just have to say, hey, Steve, excuse me, I'm behind you.
Yeah.
And then he'll move about an inch, and then I'll still bump into the trap.
Which works for some folks in this office. But
Yeah, you have to make him acknowledge you to get behind his chair. And Marty and everyone else listening to this, if you really want to help out Phil, if you're a Philistine, what are your fans called?
Oh, well, there's a question about that. Apparently, people don't like Philistine because they think it's rude, but I'm embracing it. Let's call a spade
I think
a
it's
spade.
great. And my favorite one that I've seen is the Calmudgeons. That's the other tribe.
Someone came up with calamanders in this show today.
Oh, that's good. If you're a Philistine, the thing that you can do to really prove that you're a Philistine is write an email to themeateater at themeateater.com and say, hey, I think you guys need a bigger studio. Because we have multiple walls here we could knock out and we could make a bigger space for you. And boy, if you think we're podcasting at a high level now, just wait until this room has like an extra.
We're going to be throwing our limbs all
Yeah.
over the place.
60 square feet of room.
It's going to get
in here.
lively.
We're not going to bump any more traps.
Quiet air circulation would be great.
Yeah, Phil would be in a great
predictable
mood.
HVAC.
So write an email to themeateater at themeateater.com and say, hey, I think you guys need to make your podcast studio a little bigger.
Spencer said it. I didn't.
Yeah, I did say it. All right, next week's show, we've got a very exciting MeatEater Radio Live. It's dedicated to man's best friend because it is Dog Week here at MeatEater. We got special guests joining us and a MeatEater movie club. Randall, what are you going to be reviewing?
Yes, I'm pleased to announce that the MeatEater movie club is returning by popular demand. And next week, in keeping with the theme of Dog Week, we're going to be reviewing Where the Red Fern Grows, 1974.
Rip my heart out.
I know.
Now.
Perfect for Dog Week.
There aren't that many good, like, I was going to go with Balto. No, if I have to watch Air Bud, I'm going to instead watch Dunstan Checks In because it's the same thing but with an orangutan. We didn't have
White Fang.
I thought about White Fang, but then you do the old one or the remake.
What was the Stephen King movie with
Cujo?
Yeah, that one. There you go.
We're going to go with Where the Red Fern Grows.
Nobody wins.
It's available on Tubi, Roku, Fandango at Home, Plex, Peacock, Amazon Prime, YouTube TV, and then you can rent it on Google Play Movies and Apple TV, but don't rent it. Just find it free. There also seems to be just like some bootleg version of it on YouTube, so I don't endorse, as we know, I don't endorse the infringement of intellectual property, but check it out on YouTube before you go renting.
What movie did you tell me you were considering doing, but it didn't really do it for you? Didn't really get you revved up? Old Yeller.
Old Yeller, yeah.
That doesn't do it for Randall. So
that's the thing. There's just like sad movies.
Where the Red Fern
Homeward
Grows.
Bound. Maybe it'll just show up next week, and I'll talk about Homeward Bound instead to myself.
One more important detail for next week. We want a hot tip off showdown dedicated to dogs. So send your hot tip to radio@themeateater.com with the subject line "Hot Dog Tips." We'll have a great prize for the winner. That's the end of this week's show. We'll see you guys back here next week for Dog Week.
Thank you so much.